The Sarnia Police Service's plan for a new headquarters remains a major topic of debate at City Hall, and in light of the recent Sarnia City Council vote to borrow $5 million for capital purposes, we have asked Police Chief Derek Davis to come in and talk to us about it on the show. So Chief Davis, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me back, Marlon.
No problem. So can you tell us what could be done with the $5 million if it doesn't get vetoed by December 5th and it's approved?
So there's quite a bit that can be done. And I just want to back up a little bit because I know there's a lot of discussion in the public, and I do read social media comments and all the different pieces. One of the things that's been confusing for folks is all the different numbers. Mm-hmm. And I think it's important to explain where those numbers come from. So
sure. Yeah.
Just to go back, the Sarnia Police Service has to prepare a budget. We present it to our board approves the budget, and that budget goes to council. Mm-hmm. We are only allowed, or the board is only allowed, to present a single budget to council. So you heard the mayor say at the last delegation that we did that it's not let's make a deal. Those were his words. Like, we can't say here's a bunch of different options. Mm-hmm. So the only real option is to say here's the entire project at the outset, and once that's approved, we start to do some different things. One of the other challenges we have, and with all the different numbers, is some of these numbers are made up, like the 120 is made up. There's all kinds of fiction flying around out there. Our number is 91, and that was based on the best estimate by an experienced architectural firm that's built a lot of other police facilities of similar size. That's the best estimate we can get at this early stage. We haven't signed a contract, we haven't paid an architect, so literally we're estimating to the best of our ability. So what happens next in a big project is once the big project is approved, then we have to start these next steps. And this is where the $5 million comes in. So if we have $5 million, which again is a lot of money, mm-hmm. but you have to think in terms of percentage of the large project, and you got to think of the site we've got. So just to remind our viewers that the site that was selected was the staff recommendation that was ultimately approved by council, and it's surplus land. So there's no cost to it in the sense that we don't have to buy land. So that was the savings. Was it exactly what we wanted? No, but again, we're willing to work with the city at every opportunity because that's normally how these things are done. It's done in a collaborative exercise to like any other piece of infrastructure, mm-hmm. as the police are. Mm-hmm. Once that land is there, we have a number of studies that have to be done to make sure the land's suitable because we don't know yet. We have to look at the floodplain, the water, there's an archaeological piece that has to be done, there's some road study piece with the MTO that has to put into place. So all these steps have to be done next, mm-hmm. and then we have to get a design. Once there's a design for a building, then we can get an actual estimate of the cost. Because the more we know, the more details we have, then we can start to have I'm not an architect, but they call it a Class D estimate. Mm-hmm. And that estimate is done by a professional estimator who can tell you, okay, the bricks are this much, and the cement is this much, and the windows are this much, and this is the total cost. And then you can go through exercises where, well, let's shave that off, or let's look at some different options here. Or you go through that process. And once that's done, the project goes to tender, and then it's financed over a period of years as part of the large capital. Despite the size of this project, and despite the size of this budget, another challenge for us is we're often only allocated 10 minutes to do a public presentation on a multi-million-dollar budget and a multi-million-dollar project. We've asked for more time, have not been allowed to do that. The only time we can do a presentation is if we're asking council to make a decision, and we are relegated to being a public delegation, despite our significance in the budget and as part of the city.
Okay, and then to confirm, technically that $5 million would come off of that 91. If it does stay at 91, right?
Right. Even if the 91, we would start exactly where the $5 million starts us. Let's start with the land studies. Let's get a design. Let's get a proper estimate. And because we're not working on a detailed design right now, and we've heard some criticism from some quarters. Well, you haven't done your research. You don't have a design, but you don't have any money for which to hire someone to do a design. So it's like a chicken or egg kind of an argument, and this is the right step. So I appreciate Councillor Gillis, and I appreciate those 5 councillors that supported this motion and support the police department and all the good things that have been done here in the last few years. And I think it's important to remember that the police officers have a difficult job. Those folks on the street and our civilian staff, they do a very difficult job, but they need resources and equipment and training to be able to do what we ask them to do.
You submitted a very detailed letter to council back on November 19th with regards to the project, and comments from the mayor as well in there. Can you tell us why you decided to write that and submit it?
So that was a difficult decision, and I think the public needs to understand that I don't think it's a good look when, you know, a mayor and a police chief have disagreements. I would much prefer that anything like that be worked out in collaboration, but to collaborate, we have to communicate. The other part that I struggle with is I don't mind people having different opinions. I don't mind people disagreeing with us. Certainly, there's been more than ample opportunities to see that during my tenure here. And I think it's a good thing. I think being accountable and I think having the public ask questions is a good thing. Where I have to draw the line, though, is when the facts are misrepresented. And the purpose of the letter it's not to criticize, it's not to attack, it's just to say, hey, if we're going to have a public conversation about an important topic where the public's being asked to make an important decision, the public deserves the facts. And sometimes that means listening to both sides. And I would say I'm quite happy. You can listen to my words, but I want you to look at my evidence. So in that letter was some evidence that was there. One of the examples I'll use is the amount of money we've had to invest in the building. There was a statement made that this chief, me, hasn't invested in the building, has chosen to not invest in the building, when clearly we've invested immensely in fixing up that building as much as we can. We've put as much lipstick on that thing as we possibly can, and now we're stuck.
I said I wouldn't put you on the hot seat, but it's kind of a hot seat one.
Here we go.
Maybe.
Yeah.
A lot of people during the meeting, the mayor will say that, a lot of people come up to you and they say, we don't want the building. Dennis said that, a bunch of people say that. When you approach people and you state your case, what do they say to you?
Well, it depends if we have an opportunity to explain or not, because you've seen there's been a couple other podcasters in town and people that have come through the building, and certainly publications. There's one that came out today that clearly those folks have changed their minds once they have the facts. The big challenge here is helping people to understand. Again, I go back to the propaganda and the misinformation that's been put out there by a certain blogger publication and then by others who may have an interest in not seeing this project go forward.
Sure.
They're entitled to think what they want, but they're not entitled to their own facts. The reality is that policing is infrastructure. Mm-hmm. It has to be delivered by the municipality. The municipality must provide adequate and effective policing, including a facility, and the municipality has to fund it. Again, the best way to do this is to work together and collaborate and work, towards a positive outcome and not be in any kind of conflict, because I don't think that's super productive.